Alrighty, so guys, let us have a look at what we are going to chat about today. Remember, what we are currently dealing with, or the section that we're currently looking at, is functions. And today we're actually now going to start drawing some graphs, which is really fun. Now, you are going to need to be able to draw graphs. If you plan on taking maths from grade 10, you're going to have to be able to draw graphs all the way up until matric. You will be drawing graphs or drawing functions all the way up until your matric year. So it's very important that you're able to do it. And this method, or this way that I'm going to show you by using a table, will work for any graph. So any time, whether it is now in grade 8 or in grade 12, you are asked to draw a graph, this use of a table is going to work. As long as you can substitute, which hopefully all of us can, as long as you can substitute, you will be able to draw a graph. All right, so remember we spoke about last week, and if those of you that are new, you can go and watch the videos like what Yolanda said. What we spoke about last week was just some different ways we can represent relationships. And we spoke about the fact that we have lots of ways to do that, but the ones that we work with the most are through an equation. So what I've highlighted there in green, by drawing a table and essentially working out your input and your output values. We have flow diagrams that we can use. We also now are investigating this new way to represent relationships through drawing graphs. So this is essentially what we're going to focus on today. And what's going to happen is we're going to bring in this knowledge of tables and equations. We're going to bring in the knowledge of our very first lesson of the Cartesian plane and what coordinates are, and we're going to put that all together now to actually draw a graph. Before I carry on, I'm just going to remind you, we don't raise our hands until it is time to. So any questions that you have will go on the chat. All right, so we've got our rule here of y is equal to 3x minus 1. And what we want to do is we now want to apply this to our table. Now, those of you who've been with me through both patterns and functions, we have done this so many times. So this should be something that we're comfortable with. So what we want to do here is we want to take our input value that we're given. So in this very first column 2, and we need to remember that this is giving us an x value. So it's telling us that x is equal to 2. What we are able to do is we are able to substitute that x is equal to 2 into our equation to solve for our output, to solve for our y. So what we do is if we take this value of -2, we will say y is equal to 3. Now we substitute times -2 minus 1. Remember grade 8? Between your coefficient and your variable, it is a multiplication operation. So you're saying 3 times -2. So we know 3 times -2, positive times a negative is a negative, and 3 times 2 is 6. And then we have to subtract 1. Now, if we're already at -6 on our number line, if that's how we imagined, and we want to take another 1 away, we are going to end up at -7. So we have, by substituting, found our output value. Now we can do the same thing with all of these output values. So if I now move over to my output value of -1, I can do the same thing. Y is equal to 3 times -1 minus 1. A positive times a negative is a negative. 3 times 1 is 3, so we've got -3 minus 1. If I take 1 away from something that is already negative, I'm going to get more negative. And so my output here is -4. And so through substitution, we are able to find our output values. Now we've done this, like I said, lots and lots of times before. So what I want you guys to do, that you're going to put on the chat for me, is find the output values for 0, 1, 2, and 3. So I've just labeled the output values A, B, C, and D. So on the chat, you are going to write for me, whoopsie daisies, A, the answer, B, the answer, C, the answer, D, the answer, and tell me what those outputs are. It would be ideal if you do it all together. So you do all of your working out first. And then once you've got all of your answers, you put them all on the chat straight away. Okay, so remember, I've shown you substitution. We've done the first 2 outputs. So give it a try and see if you can get those outputs for me. there's some problem having audio issues.
I have sorted out with her. She just, I'm not sure she can't see the settings, but I've sent her a private message.
Thank you. Okay, so guys, we're finding our output values. Let's give it a try. I don't want to see any hands yet.
My people, it would be nice for you to put A equals to this, B equals to this, C equals to this at one message, okay? So please write it on your book first, because we will do corrections and sometimes you might make a mistake. But if you are putting on the chat just one by one and you're not writing on your book, you won't know where you went wrong, okay, my people? So let's please put it. There we go, Sbongo. Thank you. Thank you, Amange. Thank you. Thank you, Offense. Thank you, Nelson. I see you guys. All of you who are listening, I see you guys. I'm not saying that your answers are correct. Remember, we do correction with Teacher Sam. I'm saying, show Teacher Sam that you have done it on your book, and then you can write it on the chat, A, B, C, D. Okay. Let's go, my people. So those ones that are still giving answers one by one, I am not gonna check your answers. We're checking for those that are listening to the instructions. Give A, B, C, and D at once, because it means that you have worked it out on your book first, and you are able to put it on the chat because you have it on your book.
Okay, guys, and then just quick reminder that if you haven't done this in school, that's fine, right? We follow a certain program. Schools sometimes choose to do things a little bit out of order, and that's not the end of the world. What you need to remember is that you are eventually going to do this, and so hopefully by doing it now, you'll feel more comfortable when you do eventually do it, as well as there are also videos on Watobe's website and on YouTube that you can go and watch to recap or revisit all of the concepts that we've spoken about. All right, so just because you haven't done it in school, aren't currently doing it in school, doesn't mean that I'm teaching you nonsense. You will do this. This is a section you will do, and it's a very important section. And so you will get there, which means that hopefully this is just going to increase your confidence as you get there. Okay, I'm giving you another like 20 seconds. And remember, guys, we don't spam the chat. I will remove you. Quite simple. Alrighty. Would anyone like to raise their hands to give me some of these outputs? Tapelo, would you like to give me one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me.
Ma'am, which one, ma'am, or do I just choose?
You can choose anyone. We can start with A if you want.
Okay, miss. As A, miss, 3 multiplied by 0, miss, is 0, miss. And then subtract 1 gives you -1.
Good. Okay, so guys, our output here exactly has been explained as well, is -1. Very nice. Tandawake, do you want to do another one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, which one? B.
Yes, ma'am. I'll do B.
Okay.
I said also 1 times 3 gave me 3.
Good.
And then I even just said 3 minus 1 gave me 2.
Excellent. Well done. So guys, our output there for B is 2. And again, Tandawake has explained it. We do it through substitution. All right. Senki, that's not how you say your name. Hang on. Please tell me how to say your name.
It's Ntieni.
Nsieni.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, I got my K and my I mixed up. Thank you, right? Do you want
Sorry.
to?
Ma'am, I said 3 times 2, which gives me 6, and then I said 6 minus 1 is equals to 5.
Excellent. Well done.
I'm so happy. Our newbie.
Yeah. Amazing. Well done. All right. Ortilwe, would you like to give us, what are we on? D. Remember, guys, 5-second rule. If you don't unmute, I move on. Okay. Turtenda.
Hello, ma'am. The first thing I did was I substituted the value x with the term 3, and then I say 3 times 3 was 9, minus 1 equals to 8.
Perfect. Well done.
Well
All right,
done.
so guys, and again, very nice explanation. We are substituting. That is how we get our output values. Right, remember, excuse me, try and give everyone a chance. So even though some of you didn't get your hand picked now, we are doing many more examples, so you will get your chance. Just keep raising those hands, and remember, we see you. All right, well done. So guys, what we have here is essentially what we have been doing. We've been doing this now for weeks. Hopefully this is nothing new. What is now new is we now need to translate, tip a pencil. We now want to translate all of this information that we've got over here in our table, and we want to now draw a graph. Now, what we need to remember is that when drawing a graph, it's very important that I have coordinates that I need to plot. And what we need to remember, as we spoke about in our first lesson, is that coordinates are an X and a Y pair. Now, what's quite nice about a table is it gives you this pair. All your X's are at the top, the corresponding Y's at the bottom. So I've got one coordinate pair here of, and I'm just going to write it on the side, -2, 7. That was the X value, 7 was my output. If I look at my next column, I've got, once again, an input and an X and an output, which is Y. So I've got another coordinate, -1, -4. It would also help if I put the negative in front of the 7, wouldn't it? All right, so what we need to realize is that this table method is super helpful for us because it gives us our coordinate pairs. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write down all of the coordinates that we're going to want to plot. And this is directly from my table. So X, Y, X, Y. Those are my pairs. So I've got 0, -1, 1, 2, 2, 5, and 3, 8. These are the coordinates that I'm going to want to take and I'm going to want to plot on my Cartesian plane, or I'm going to want to use to draw my graph. Okay, so by doing a table, and this is why I said earlier, if you ever are stuck with a graph, you just draw a table and you have your inputs and you have your outputs and you can get coordinates. It will always work for you. Alrighty, so if we now take these points and we go and plot them, what we need to remember is that our Cartesian plane is a set of axes. I'm actually just going to move my coordinates down a bit, otherwise I'm not going to be able to see what I'm doing. Is a set of axes, X and Y, that we need to use to plot points on. Now, just as a reminder, guys, we have spoken about this, but to remind you, your X-axis is always the horizontal axis, so it's the one that runs from left to right, and your Y-axis is always the vertical one, that's the one that runs up and down. We have spoken about the fact that you've got the special point in the middle here where they meet, which is called the origin. And from there, we can add our values or our numbers so that we are able to plot coordinates. Okay, so I'm just adding some values here so that I can actually plot the points. Remember, when I start to go down my Y-axis, I'm working with negative values. I've made some weird choices by putting them on the left, but it doesn't matter. When I go to the left on my X-axis, I'm also working with negative values. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. Right. I'm also working with negative values on the left of my X-axis. But when I go to the right on my X-axis, as you can see, I've got positive numbers. When I go up on my Y-axis, I've got positive numbers. Right, if you don't know what a Cartesian plane is, I encourage you to go and watch the very first video of this course on Watobe's website. It explains the Cartesian plane. Right, so what we now want to do is we want to go and plot our points. So what we do is we take each of those coordinates that we've written down and we're going to plot them. So the first one that we're going to plot is this -2, 7. Now remember, it is an x and a y. So x is -2, so I go to -2 on my x-axis. Y is -7. Oh no, I haven't given myself enough space, so let's just add that in. Whoopsie daisies. Come on. Okay, let's try that again. All right, -7, and I can go and plot my point. So there is my first point of -2, -7. I then go plot my second point, -1, -4. So x is -1, go down to where y is -4, and I plot my point. And I keep doing this with all of my points until I've plotted all 6 of them. So that third point that I've just plotted was at 0, -1. The fourth one is +1, +2. The fifth is 2, 5. Let's do that. And the sixth one, again, I don't have enough space on my axis, so I'm actually just going to leave it, but we could extend our axis. Now, what you need to remember is that these points represent a relationship between x and y. And when I say x and y, guys, remember I'm talking about our input and our output values. Now, whenever we draw a graph, we don't just leave the dots. It is a graph. We need to essentially fill in some sort of line that shows or represents the shape. So what we can see here is that this is going to be a straight line graph. Oh no, I thought I selected a straight line. If you took a ruler and you now joined these points, you will see you get a perfectly straight line. Let's try that again. And so I can join my points in order to get my graph. All right, this is not a perfect looking graph, but we're just gonna roll with it. There we go. And so what I've done is, using my coordinates that I got from my table, I have drawn a graph to represent this relationship between x and y. Just some silly things. We always put arrows on the end of the line or at the end of the graph just to show that this relationship could keep going along our axis. We can't draw an axis to infinity. That's impossible. And so we stop it at, like, whenever our Cartesian plane ends, we just put little arrows on the end to show that it technically does go on forever. We just can't draw that. Right, so what we see is that we've got this straight line being formed. But we'll chat about it in a second. Why is a straight line? I'm just going to stop here in case anyone has any questions. You can raise your hand. Otherwise, we're going to have a chat about why it is a straight line now. And remember, grade 8, if you do have questions before I say you can raise your hands, just remember you can always put them in the chat. Andile?
Ma'am,
Yes.
one thing I'm confused about the negative thing. Like, while I was drawing the line, I kind of saw the negatives.
Okay, so when you say the
is it
negatives,
like the X?
you mean these negatives over here, the -2 and the -1?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, they are the x's. So that's why at -2, I've got a point. And at -1, I've got a point.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, and good. And those correspond with the y. So at -2, it was -7. So if I now read across from 2, I get -7. At -1, it was -4. So if I read across from -1, I get -4. Good. Okay, so guys, that's very important. We can have x values that are negative. Botale?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, I have just a short question, ma'am. So, ma'am, it's like is the x like at the top going down or at the side going across?
Okay, good. So the X is at the top going down because, let's just get another color highlighter here, because the X axis is this it just went so badly. Right, let's try that again. No, apparently I'm not allowed to try that again. I'm going to try it again. Right, the X is this horizontal axis. So we always read from the X down to meet up with our Y, and our Y is this one that goes up and down. So this axis over here in the squiggly blue, that's the Y. So X we read down, Y we read across, and where they meet, that's where we get our point.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good. Okay, so guys, that's very important. We do indeed need to know how to plot points. And so it's very important to understand how our axes work. All right, so that's how we plot points. We just draw a little dot, and then when we actually want to draw the function or draw the graph, we join those dots to create a shape. Now, most of the time, especially in grade 8 and grade 9, you deal with straight lines. It's very rare that we deal with other types of graphs. You can get other types of graphs, but it's rare that in grade 8 and 9 we do. I'm going to show you some others just so that you can see, but generally you are going to draw some straight lines. All right, so I quickly want to have a chat about why this is a straight line before we take a break. Right, so if we go back up to our table, and I'm just going to erase the substitution that we showed here. And grade 8, remember, unfortunately, I can't help you if you just say you're confused. I need to know exactly specifically what you're confused about so that I can help. Okay, so guys, remember we've spoken about the fact that graphs essentially represent a pattern. It's X and Y. So if we look at our Y values and we try and establish what the pattern is, we can see that to get from one Y value to the next, I am adding 3. So -7 plus 3 is -4. -4 plus 3 is -1. -1 plus 3 is 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. So what we are doing is we are adding a constant, and we call it a constant difference, but a constant value each time to get from one Y value to the next. We've also spoken about the fact if you go back up to your equation, that number in front of the X will correspond with the number you are adding or subtracting. And so we have had these conversations a little bit already. What I want you to see though, is because we are adding a constant value, my graph is going to be a straight line because I'm adding the same amount each time. If you have a look at your graph, do you see, and let's start, oopsie daisies, let's start here. Do you see that you are increasing by 3 blocks? That's a weird looking rectangle. Let's try that again. Okay, something weird has happened. I'm just gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Just give me 2 seconds to figure this out. Right, there we go. Do you see that you are increasing by 3 blocks each time? 1, 2, 3. Next point, 1, 2, 3. To the next point, 1, 2, 3. And this comes back to that constant difference that we just spoke about. The fact that I'm always adding 3 each time to get from one point to the next. And because that doesn't change, because I'm constantly adding exactly the same value, I have got a straight line. All right, so excuse me, when we are adding the same value each time to get from one Y to our next, we are going to get a straight line. All right, just some questions that were in the chat, just so that we're clear. Zanara, it's in your exams if you've been taught it at school. If you haven't, then no. Cisilana, that's definitely not how you say your name. I do apologize. You'll have to correct me. For the third one, why is it on the -1? Remember, it's on the -1 because for the third one, it is 0, -1. So we go to 0 on our x-axis, which is here, and I've clearly moved my whole axis, and I go down to -1, and that is where I plot my point. So because it's at x equals 0, because it's at x equals 0, I start at the middle point of my graph, so at the origin, and then I go down 1 to get it at -1 and then 0. So that's why it's on the -1, because the fact that the x is 0, it stays on the axis. Okay, grade 8, I'm going to let you take a screenshot. Let's just do that. So you've got everything that we've done. Again, I'm going to stop. If anyone has questions, now's the time to raise your hand while we're taking screenshots. Reese, it won't always be a straight line. We will join it with a curve or some sort of line. It won't always be a perfectly straight line. And hopefully we're going to get to some examples that you will always join them. It just won't always be a straight line. Tian, we will eventually do equations, yes. But guys, remember, the questions focus on this lesson. I am going to start ignoring you if you ask non-related questions. Okay, so you're taking your screenshots. And then we're going to have brain break. Okay. I love this joke so much. It's like an oldie but a goodie. All right, guys, so remember brain break. What we want from you is we want you to find us the value of this final equation over here. So we are going to be on the lookout on the chat for the final value so that we can call on you so that you can explain to us.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the joke and it's me who was making noise. I couldn't hold it in, guys. Look at the joke.
I love it.
Sam has explained, okay, listen. I'm not behaving at this moment. Listen up, guys, first.
Guys, someone said, can you do some examples? I have just done an example. We are going to do more, but it's important that you listen, okay? So right now we're taking a little breaks just that our minds can have a second to absorb everything that we've done. And then we're going to carry on. I indeed also need to figure out what the sum is. So let's see who gets there first. Please make sure, and I'm just going to make this bigger, make sure you are seeing whether or not there's 2 boards, 2 bikes, 2 racing cars. Otherwise, it is going to affect your answer. No, there is no quiz today. Quizzes happen on Wednesdays. Today is Monday still. Oh, guys, not seeing any answers yet. I'm gonna. People, you might just need to take a second. It might load now. Oh, I wonder if Junior's got in there before me. No. Okay, we're looking out for an answer. Haven't seen it yet.
Remember, no hands yet. Once we see the correct answer on the chart, we'll definitely let you know. Once we see the correct answer on the chart, we will let you know.
Guys, please put your hands down. That's basically what Yolinda's saying very nicely. And just quickly, guys, for the first one, you can't just say 7 times 6 or whatever else. It has to be 3 of the same things that you're adding. That's why there's 3 ships, or like 3 groups of ships.
Let's go, guys. The answer is smaller than what y'all are giving us. It's not 210, it's not 214, it's not 302. Calculate nicely. Let's bring our skills into this. It's not 210. Yes, you can use a calculator. This is to use your brain. Be creative. Use a calculator. Do what you need to do. Let's find the answer. Let's see. The first person to think the answer. It's not 120. It's not 150. Let's go, guys. It means there's something that you are doing incorrectly. When you have 3x's equals to 42, how do you solve for x? I've given you a hint. Let's do this.
I think we do another. Oh, never mind.
We have a winner. Owam, can you please raise your hand? Owam was first. Lara, you're also the winner, but Owam was first. Owam, you put 66 parts to the first one. Could you please raise your hand? If not, then I'll ask Lara, I'll ask Mbali, I'll ask Tatenda. Atlahang, don't spam us, please. We have seen your first 66. Do not spam us. So anyone who got 66, you can raise your hand, because I think Owam got it first, but I don't see Owam's hand here. So anyone who got 66 and wants to explain to us, and Lamini, no stress, don't worry. It's called a brain break because it's really breaking your brain. That's the whole point. Okay.
And I will look for a harder one.
Yeah, Nelson,
There definitely are harder ones.
Nelson, I'm picking you. Let's go. Explain to us.
So, ma'am,
Yes.
what I first did was
Sorry.
by the 2 ships, by the 3 ships, I first said 42 divided by 3, which gave
Good.
me 14.
Excellent. So 2 ships is 14, right, Nelson?
So I applied board maths, but the second questions. So
Good.
if 2 ships gave me 14, so one ship could give me 7.
Good. Well done.
Then what I did next was that I took the scooters and then I said 7. I kept on adding 7 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till I found the answer 5. So the
Okay.
scooters equals 5.
Okay.
The next thing I did with the race cars, I said that if one scooter equal 5, 2 could give me 10.
Good.
Then with the race cars, I just added 10. I added 10 with I added 10 with
Okay.
I added 10 with the
66.
8
Oh,
with
okay.
the 16.
Cool. So the race cars are 16.
Yes.
Good.
Then what I said by the 10 was that 2 scooters gave me 10.
Good.
Then if 2 race cars gave me 16, 1 gives me 8.
Excellent.
Then I said times 7.
Good. Now, what do we do first, Nelson? Times or add?
You first use times.
Good. And what is 8 times 7?
8 times 7 gives me 56.
Good. And then we add 10. So our final answer is?
66.
Excellent, Nelson. Well done.
That
Okay.
is well, hopefully you have learned from Nelson. Okay, so for all of you, once while teacher Sam is going back to the work, so I just wanted to just sort of comfort you to say brain break. It is about braining your break. Okay, mostly we just want you to stretch and to try a challenge for those of you who wants to do the challenge. Okay, so please don't feel obliged of it. It will be nice for you, of course, to take part of it, because it's really an interesting thing for you to do. So teacher Sam does make an effort to get these brain breaks, so we definitely need to do them. Okay, sometimes it will change, sometimes it won't change. Yes, the joke was really funny. I'm glad someone got it. So let's just focus. Okay, now we are back, my people. No numbers anymore. We did correction already. Let's focus on the board. We are on nets. Let's do it, guys.
Okay, guys, yeah. I'm not going to say anything. But yeah, if you feel that the brain break is just too boring for you, then don't do it. I'm not going to fight with you. It's there, like Yolanda says, for you to have a break. Like, a lot of time goes into preparing these lessons. And so if you can't be bothered, that's absolutely fine. Everyone else will do it and give us answers and beautifully explain it exactly as Nelson did. And thank you again, Nelson. All right, guys. So we are back to looking at graphs. We're back to looking at how to draw one. And this one's going to be a little bit different to what we drew, but let's first get our table right, and then we will see why it's a bit different. So remember, what we want to do in order to get our outputs is we want to use substitution. So if we look at the first one, we've got -2, and that is going to replace the x. So by substituting, I've got y is equal to, right, I won't carry on until we stop on the chat. We are talking about graphs right now. Remember, we don't talk about anything not related to our lesson. So stop, sort yourselves out, and focus. Right, so y is equal to minus, because we've got that minus in front of the x. Technically, it's a -1 coefficient. If you want to write the 1, that's cool. If not, that's also fine, but minus times -2 plus 3. Now, we know when we've got that minus situation, we end up with a plus. So what we have is 2 plus 3, and 2 plus 3 gives us 5. So our very first output here is 5. If we have a look at the next one, we've got an input of -1. We say y is equal to -1 plus 3. Again, that negative situation gives us a +1 plus 3, and 1 plus 3 is 4. So we are able to get our outputs using substitution, as we did in the very first example. So what I want you guys to do, so I want you to find me the outputs for the last 4. I'm going to put letters here, A, B, C, and D. So give me some outputs over there, and let's see what we get. Remember, you are substituting the x value that I've given you in order to get y. Remember, on the chat, I want to see your answers A, B, C, D. So do all of them first, and then put your answers on the chat.
Let's go, guys. Y'all are doing really great. You are doing really well, my people. Okay, remember, you need to send them. A equals to this, B equals to this, C equals to this, D equals to this, and then send it. So you can't send it one by one, okay, my people? We'll only get those ones that are sending batches of A equals to this, B equals to this. There we go, Lisa, okay, well done. There we go, and delay, exactly. Nelson, there we go. You see, this is how we want them to be. Okay, guys? So this is what we are doing. Nice, my people.
Good.
Thank you so much, Teacher Sam, for backing me up. I'm nervous.
No, I'm at a point right now where I will fight anyone who starts nonsense with me. So no, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you are on top of it.
Yes, people. Yes,
Nice,
guys.
Well done. You're on it. I'm glad we listened to the first example so that we knew how to do this one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you another 2 seconds and then we're going to get some hands up. Nice, guys. Okay, we're on it. Hands up if anyone wants to give me some answers here. Sibonga, do you want to give us the first one?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I'm ready.
So I said negative open brackets 0 plus 3. And then negative times a positive equals a positive. So no, negative 0, negative open brackets 0 close brackets plus 3 gave me a 3. So I said 0 plus 3, which was 3.
Excellent, well done. Okay, guys, remember 0 doesn't actually have a sign. So minus 0 plus 0, it's still 0. So exactly like Simunga just said, 0 plus 3 is 3. Nice, well done. Okay, Udani, would you like to give us the next one? Udani, there we go. You there? Oh, no. Okay, Lisake?
Ma'am,
Yes.
I said, ma'am, -1. Actually, ma'am, yes, like that. And then I said +3, ma'am.
Good.
And then I changed the negative, ma'am. I changed this thing, ma'am, into a 2, ma'am.
Okay, good, because we had -1 plus 3, which gave us 2.
2, ma'am.
Excellent,
Yes, ma'am.
well done. Atlagan, would you like to give us C? Remember, guys, 5-second rule. Okay, Butle? Oh, guys, we're not doing well with our unmuting today. Atlagan, I saw you unmuted. Do you want to try again?
Let's go, my people,
Okay.
so we can do a poll. Let's go.
Okay, so I am just going to quickly do these. If we've got y is equal to minus times 2 plus 3, that's -2 plus 3, which gives us 1. And the final one, y is equal to minus times 3 plus 3 minus 3 plus 3 is actually then just 0. Someone put on the chat a difference of -1. I can't remember who it was. There's been so many answers coming in. Zwongu was there. The constant difference is -1. Very nicely done on picking up that pattern.